Slow start. So just come standing and lift and roll your shoulders. And just take one hand to the navel, one hand to the heart centre. And this will lift you up, possibly at the heart centre of the chest. So you're standing correctly. You're in samastiti, equal balance on left and right, equal balance at the front and the back. It's another word that you might have heard is Tadasana, the mountain pose. But just take a moment to settle yourself and just to be aware of not only all the chakra points running along the inside of the spine, so from the base chakra, the perineum, all the way through right up to the top of the head, but to be aware of all the bodies. So there are your physical dense body, and then just outside that, sometimes in sunshine, you can see a very light shimmering almost outline, and those layers just carry on. But your emotional bodies, your mind in the yogic world is split into various levels of conscious and subconscious, unconscious. They're various aspects to us, they're not just what you see. And then just release the hands. Lift and roll both shoulders back. So you're setting the energy, allowing energy to travel from the collarbones up to the head. And breathing in, raise the right arm up, stretching it up. Breathing out, turn your head to the left. Stay here for an in and an out breath. And then breathing in, bring your head back to the centre. And breathing out, lower the right arm. And breathing in, raise your left arm, stretching up. Breathing out, turn to the right with your head. Stay here for an in and an out breath. When you're ready, bring the head back to the centre. And breathing out, lower the left arm. Lift and roll the shoulders. So a nod to the fact that the joints can often feel stiff at this time of the year as we kind of creak to. Just breathing in, turn your head to the left. Breathing out, turn your head to the right. So this is at the neck level. Again, into the left and breathing out as you turn your head to the right. One last time, into the left. And breathing out to the right. And bring your head back to the centre. Just bring your fingertips now to the collarbones. And breathing in, hands out in front of you. Breathing out, hands back. So this is beginning to work at the shoulder level. Breathing in, hands out. And breathing out, hands back. And one more time to your own breath pattern. In and out. Just keep the fingers at the collarbone and circle the elbows forward. Your elbows can meet if you would like, but if they don't meet, then don't worry about it. So again, you can feel this at the shoulder, but it's just slightly further down. And then reverse that circle so that your elbows roll backwards. And then just release the hands back down and lift and roll the shoulders. And then lifting the chest, once more breathing in, both hands up, clasp and reverse, and palms now up to the ceiling. So this is stretching. If you just slightly move from side to side, you can feel the intercostal muscles, everything stretching on the side. So again, this just stretches out. And then just very gently turn to the left, maybe bounce in and out. Come to the centre, and then just very gently turn to the right, just bouncing in and out. Come to the centre. Lower the hands back down Lift and roll the shoulders and place your hands on the waist. Breathing in, turn your head to the left. And breathing out, turn your head to the right. Come back to the centre and just have your feet hip-width apart. As you soften the knees, bend the knees, you might like to bring your bottom away from you, tummy in. And you're feeling this on your ankles, your knees, maybe your hips. And then breathing in, press your feet into the ground and come up. And release your hands. Maybe step with your feet a little bit wider, but feel free to adjust them. We're going to come to this very familiar swaying from side to side. So this works all 5 energies.
Great.
And just
Really
think,
works then.
yes, if nothing else, either you're closing your eyes, or if you're not closing your eyes, the swirling of your scenery around you, and this, you can't think too much while everything is swirling. And so this becomes a mindfulness exercise as you are disconnecting your thoughts, your stresses, your anxieties, your worries, just for a moment or two. And you will, of course, reconnect to those stresses, but your connection or reconnection will be with a slightly different perspective. So it does have benefits. You can lift your heels. You can bring this to a Tibetan-style yantra yoga, the medicine side of yoga, making it very much more obvious where you're flinging your arms and almost holding your shoulders, or you can make the movement a lot more subtle, which you can do really if you're in a queue or stuck somewhere where you can't go anywhere anytime soon. Airport. I've done this in an airport where I was feeling very miserable and hot and in a queue and stressed out.
Men's wrong. Yeah, you did this.
Yes,
Did people stare at you?
No, they didn't, but I think I must have looked a bit odd or a bit stressed. I'm possibly too far gone to 100% appreciate it, but I obviously, anyway, it helped. So then just come to stand still and lift and roll the shoulders. So another de-stressor and quite good for the vitality of your general body energy. If you bring your fingertips to your collarbones, shoulder collarbone, you can just start to tap around here. And then you can make it a light tap with your fingers. You can make it a light tap with your knuckles. And if you don't want to do this, you can almost rub those soft sore spots which are slightly, possibly slightly lower. There's a part that just feels slightly sore below your collarbones. This part is called the K27, which is K is kidney on the energy meridians, Chinese energy meridians, and 27 is just the point reference. But it connects into your vital essence. So in a very, if you bring to mind a lovely gorilla sitting there in the sunshine, he will be sometimes doing this, and it's like a reaffirmation of his energy out to the world, the Tarzan kind of aspect. And we're not dissimilar, we just don't go around doing this a lot of the time. And again, this disconnects us from the stress outs, very simple to do. And I like to add in something that I don't think a gorilla does do particularly, but then from there, just releasing the fingers and taking the fingertips perhaps to the top of the head and just gently tapping or patting around the top of the head where the fontanelles, where the sutra things meet. And that again, if you're tapping all the way around, it's very hard to maintain stress when your head's being tapped. And you can bring your fingers down slightly and then just very, very gently release the hands and lift and roll the shoulders. Come to standing comfortably, and we're going to do some half salute to the sun, so bringing the hands together at the heart centre. Again, that uplifting feeling at the chest for the mood. Breathing in, soften the knees and circle the hands up. Palms together And then bring the palms through to the heart center and then carry on to place the hands on the shins. Breathing in, half lift. Breathing out, soften the knees and soften the elbows, bend in. Breathe in, half lift. And stay here as you breathe out. And breathing in, soften the knees, press the feet down, and roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. And breathing in, raise the hands up, and hold your left wrist with your right hand, stretch that left arm, and then just come over with the left arm to the right. And again, feel that stretch on the left side. You can bounce in and out. Breathing in, straighten up, and change wrist so that your right hand holds your left wrist. And just come over to the side. Again, you're almost lifting out from your waist, lifting the weight away from your hips, almost freeing your hips, and then coming to the center and lowering the hands back down again. Lift and roll the shoulders. Hands together at the heart center. Again, half salute to the sun. Soften the knees and circle the arms up. Stretching up. Palms together, come down through the heart center, bend the knees, and then hands go onto the shins. Breathing in, half lift. Breathing out, soften the knees, elbows curl in. Breathing in, half lift. And stay here as you breathe out. And then as you next breathe in, soften the knees, press the feet down, and roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. This time, circle the wrists up. Stretching out. And circle the wrists down. And then just shake the hands out. And once more, hands together at the heart center. Soften the knees, circle the arms up, stretching up, palms together. Come down through the heart center. Once more to bring your hands to the shins. Breathing in, you're lengthening your spine, half lift. Breathing out, soften the knees, bend in. Breathe in, half lift. Stay here as you breathe out. And breathing in, soften the knees, press the feet down, and roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. Lift and roll the shoulders. And then just for a moment, bring the tips of the fingers together. Hakini Mudra. Again, this is wonderful for creative energy. Just focuses your mind. It is very good at banishing random wandering thoughts. It's good to boost your concentration. And again, this becomes a mindfulness exercise. Because when you part your hands, again, you might come back to your stresses, but not quite in the same way. Lift and roll the shoulders. So we're going to come to stepping the left foot forward. I was going to say it's almost like a warrior modification. Left foot forward. If you need to balance, you can bring your left foot out towards the edge of the mat. Your right foot is at about 45 degrees. And depending on your height, your leg span, you can have your feet wider apart or closer. Just feel that you're going to adjust. Just get your balance by bringing your hands on your waist and lifting your chest. So this is very much warrior pose, which is great for, not that we're there yet, but osteoporosis, but for strengthening and setting a firm foundation. And then just soften your knees, your front left knee, hands up. And as you breathe out, tummy in, lengthen your back and come forward. You might like to bring your hands to slide them to the left shin. That might be enough for you. If you really want to come down further to hands either side of your left foot, that's fine too. And then lengthen, lead with your chest almost, to press your feet down and to roll up. But it's actually harder than it looks.
Squeaky.
So you might want to modify that. Breathing in, hands up, stretching up, and then tummy in. As you breathe out, you can bend your elbows if you would like to. Feel that you're leading from the chest to come forward. And you might actually just want to bring your hands to your thigh, that's fine. If you want to bring your hands further down to your shin, that's fine. And if you want to carry right on down to hands out to either side of your left foot, that's fine. So you choose your modification. And then breathing in. Again, feel that you're leading with your chest. As you press your feet down, try and keep the weight even on your feet, and then roll up. When you do it slowly, it's quite challenging.
Yeah, that's my left
Leg.
Creaking.
And then just raising up, stretching up. And again, feel you're leading with your chest, and then your chin comes in. Come to wherever works. Top of the thigh, shin, or to the floor. And then breathing in. Have a sense of leading with your chest, lifting with your chest. Press the feet down and roll up. Hands up. And then lower the hands and step the left foot back. That very simple movement is surprisingly engaging quite a few muscles.
Doesn't feel like it.
Did feel like it.
This left leg.
So the trick is also when you come forward to try and keep the weight even, which will mean that you bring your attention to the back leg. You're keeping your weight towards the back, which we tend, when we come forward, to bring it onto the front knee, and that puts strain on the front knee. So it's again that samastiti balance aspect of standing. So we're going to come to the right side, and of course one side will be better for you than the other. So one side will be stronger. So come to bring your right foot forward and maybe out, your left foot to about 45 degrees. Just hands on your waist. Classically in yoga, you keep your heel down in this pose, but you'll find in fast flow, like Ashtanga yoga, quite often people will lift their back heel up to allow them to twist their hips round, which has its advantages to twist the hips round, but its disadvantages because it will destabilise your balance, but it's an option. So just get your balance, and then breathing in, soften the front right knee as you raise your hands up. Feel that you're leading with your chest as you breathe out, and soften your front knee. Keep the weight towards the back left foot and slide your hands to wherever works for you. And then press your feet down. Keep the attention on the back as you lift up. And breathing in. And we'll do that again. Leading with the chest. Coming forward to where works for you. And then breathing in, lead with the chest to come up. And one last time, leading with the chest. Back, weight on the back foot, hard, and then coming up. Lifting the arms, lowering the arms, and stepping the right foot back. Lift and roll the shoulders, and then come to just recover from that. It's so simple, and yet it's actually very strenuous, and it really grounds your foundational energy. It's a strengthening pose, which we can lose strength and not really realise it.
Yes.
And that kind of
My
shows.
legs particularly, rather than my arms.
Arms.
The legs.
Shows up. It shows up.
Shows
But
up,
we're none of us perfect, and we've all got a symmetry, and so it's just yeah. So this is again quite familiar. It's a breathwork exercise. Breathing in, palms up and out. Breathing out, bringing palms back. Palms down as you breathe in and out. Palms back. elbows up and then lower. Palms up and out, palms back, palms down and out, palms back and lower. Again, palms up and out, back, palms down, back, and lower. And again, palms up and out, back, down, back. And then last time, up and out, down, and down. Lift and roll the shoulders. That almost Tai Chi type sequence that we've just done slows the breath down to coordinate it with the movement. And so it's quite calming for the nervous system. And then finally, you'll be very glad to hear, we're just going to come to lying on the mat. But before we do that, we're going to come to do just a couple. It's aura cleansing, breathing in, hands up. Breathing out, really bend your knees. They call them miracle bends, just touching your fingertips to the floor. Breathing, rolling in and up, and down. So again, this incorporates not just the physical body, but the subtle energies surrounding us. So it's a reminder, coming back to the equinox principle of the spring, that we're just more than our complete bodies. And then coming up. So if you were doing this in Kundalini yoga, you'd be doing this lots of times and very, very fast. You'd be going almost dizzy. Lift and roll, and you kind of it collapse, so I do in exhausted heat. And then now come down to the mat and lie on your backs. And for a change, we're actually going to come to Shavasana. Although I won't keep you there, but legs stretched out along the ground. You might need to bend your knees to lift your bottom and just straighten your bottom. And then just stretch the legs out along the ground. Extend your right heel, relax and release it, and then extend your left heel. And relax and release. Just let the feet flop out to the side. Just turn your head to the left and then through to the right, but give the weight of your head to the ground. Just connecting into the earth. And then now extend your right heel, bend your right elbow and raise your right arm up above you. Stretch out along the ground, your right side. Leave the arm extended, stretched out, and turn your head to the left. A little bit or a lot, it's up to you. And then stay here for an in and an out breath. And when you're ready, on an in breath, bring your head back to the centre. And on an out breath, lower your right arm. And just release the entire right side, just let it release out to the right. And now bring your attention to the left side, extend your left heel. Breathing in, bend your left elbow, raise your left arm above you and stretch out on your left side now. If your hand doesn't reach the floor, that doesn't matter. You can bend your elbow if that's straining under the arm. When you're ready, turn your head to the right, away from your extended left arm. And stay here for an in and an out breath. And when you're ready, bring your head back to the centre. And then breathing out, lower the left arm back down alongside you. And then bring perhaps your feet slightly closer together, extend both heels. And breathing in, raise both arms, bent slightly at the elbows above you. Stretch out. And when you're ready, breathe out. Let your tummy do the work and your arms will follow fractionally afterwards. Lower your arms back down to the ground and then just release your feet totally out to the side. And come back to just turning your head to the left and turning your head to the right. And coming back to the centre. So bringing your attention to both ankles here, circle both ankles in one direction. The joints can, as we said, stiffen up, and particularly around this time of the year. It's to do also with the liver energy, like sap rising. Apparently at this time of year, it's very good to eat bitters, so things like rocket, the very natural sort of homeopathic type ways to eat dandelion leaves when they come out as well, and then just circle your feet the other way. So bitters stimulate are very good for the liver. In fact, some of the tonics for liver are bitters. You know, you're testing my knowledge here, but anyway, for the liver energy, it's a sap rising that kind of repeats itself in the springtime as well. So you're circling your ankles in the opposite direction. And then toes up to the ceiling and just point the toes away and do that a couple of times to your own breath pattern. You're waking up the joints in the foot. Again, everything can get stiff. We've all got our own little weak spots in the body. So then just release and relax your feet to one side. And then bend one knee and then bend the other. So now both knees are bent to the ceiling and both feet are on the floor. You might like to press your feet into the floor to lift your bottom and just to settle yourself so that you feel central. And breathing in with your knees bent, your feet on the floor, raise both elbows above you and you can hold, your hands will hold your wrists. Your hands might be on the floor and you'll just feel a slight pull under your arms. The more you bend your elbows, the less that pull. Just find your comfortable position. Just take a moment to breathe in and out here, and if ever you needed uplifting, if you're ever depressed or feeling blur, doing this can be very uplifting because you're lifting the chest. And if you wanted to stay here, you can always put blankets under your back so that you're supported. And then release your hands, but have your hands as they're always clasped, and have your clasped hands under your head so that your elbows are out to the side. And we're going to focus on the core here. Flatten your back to the ground, breathe out, and lift your head and your elbows up. Your elbows might come towards each other. And then breathing out, lowering your head. If you've lifted your head and your tummy is domed noticeably, then you've gone beyond your core capacity, which is very easy to do. When you next breathe out, flatten the back to the ground, tummy comes in, lift your head, your elbows might come together, chin comes to the chest, and then just release and relax back down onto the floor. And widen the elbows. And then one more time, flatten the back to the floor, tummy engages. You can engage your perineum upwards, lifting up, elbows come together, and then just release and come back down again. You're also stretching the back of the neck, back of the head. This time as you come up and your elbows come together, just lift up slightly and come with your elbows over to the right so that your left shoulder lifts slightly off the ground. But only come to as far as you can without doming your tummy too much, and then release back down to the ground. And when you next breathe in, flatten your back, lift your head very gently, elbows slightly come together, and lift your right shoulder up so that you're coming over towards the left. And then just come back to the centre as you just release and relax your head back down to the ground. Elbows out, just enjoy that stretch under the arms. That's the upper lymphatic system we're tuning into. And then just release your hands out from under your head, releasing your head back down to the earth. And just come to place your hands on your abdomen. We're going to take a breath awareness here, elbows slightly out to the side. Breathing in through the nose, and you breathe out through your mouth. And just carry on with those breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth to your own breath pattern. Increasing your nitric oxide. Charlotte, if you wanted to add anything, it does something to the blood or the muscle. Thank you. Very helpful, particularly on such a lovely spring day, to calm you down. It also lets the body recover from the movement that it's made. If you keep on and on exercising and you don't take a break, too much exercise is almost as bad as not doing any at all. So it lets the body just have a slight recovery. And then, when you're ready, just let that breath go and bring your feet together. So this is an alternative to opening around the hip area. When you next, I'm not going to give a breath instruction, just let your right knee drop to the right. Open out to the right. It won't go down to the floor completely, it just opens out to the right. You might find that your left hip lifts slightly. If you were being very strict, you'd keep your left hip on the floor, but I'm not being strict. You're just opening out the right hip. And then when you're ready, bring your right knee up as it joins the left knee. Keeping the right knee straight, and then when you're ready, just open your left knee to the left, opening out the inner left groin. Hands are on your tummy, or your hands can be down alongside you, palms down. Breathing in, bring your left knee upright so that your left and right knees are kind of almost touching. And like a clam or an oyster, or open to the right when you're ready in your own breath pattern. You can stay here, or you can coordinate the movement to your breath. When you're ready, bring your knee back. So you can go slow or fast, and then open out to the left. You're either coordinating the movement with your breath, or you might decide that you're a bit stiff on one side and want to hold it for a couple of breaths. So this clam or oyster-like movement, you might start to roll from side to side so that as you open your leg to the right, your left knee slightly drifts into the centre. And that might suit you as well. It's a very easy and safe way to open your hips in a slightly different way. It massages down at the top of your bottom. It's included, we don't do it very often, but it's included in some of the back remedial programs. But my focus here is on the hips. And hips, if you correlate each part of the body to an emotion, the hips are viewed as where you're going forward in life. So when people, particularly perhaps older people, they've got no focus, they've got no goal, they've lost maybe their focus, they can old age as well, of course, but they can, the Eastern view anyway is that you can slug up in your hips. Shoulders represent responsibility, hips are representing where you see yourself going forward in life. One of the things that's always stayed in my mind is that toxins show up in the body, and this is the time of year when toxins come up because all the sap's rising, the spring's here. and you can get stiff in your joints. But people who are in institutions, whether they be hospitals or whether they're drug rehabilitation centres or training that I did are in prisons, drug addicts and people on a lot of medication have a lot of toxins flowing around in their systems, and they are incredibly stiff. And so people in prisons get, and they don't get the exercise as well, of course, but get very stiff in their joints. And then just very gently bring both knees back. And then just hug one knee into the chest and then hug the other knee. So both knees are hugged into the chest. If you find that you would like to part your knees, so you're avoiding your tummy, that's fine too. Just hold your knees comfortably into you and just sway gently from side to side. So again, your hips can lift off the ground, your head can be just rolling on the back of the skull. And whether you want to roll a little bit, or whether you want to roll almost right down to one side and the other, just holding your weight on the backs of your upper arms, that's up to you. So we're now focusing, I mentioned 5 energies, and we sway our arms from side to side. This is the foundational energy, the Apana energy. Very helpful for massaging along the lower back, and that can, the joints of the lumbar vertebra can get very stiff too. Overuse, repetitive use, wear and tear. And again, if you've got any stiffness, then normally this time of year can show that up. It's a shame we can't oil our joints, but in Ayurveda they say you can. So they tell you to take lots of oil, olive oil or fish oil or sapphire oil or whatever oil you want to olate the joints, oleate the joints, make everything smooth, go through smoothly. But then coming to hug your knees back into the centre, and I want to focus on the hips again. Both knees are hugged into the chest. They can, however you want to hold them. Then let both knees drift away to arm's length. You're still holding your knees. Part your knees at the top, away from you. Open the knees out in a V, and then circle the knees back so that they're meeting up, hugging your knees into the chest. Let both knees drift away to arm's length. Open the knees into a V. Circle them and then bring them back. And just carry on doing that a few times in your own breath pattern. This is just completely brilliant for total hip mobility, but without putting any pressure on your hips. And the safety aspect particularly comes from 2 parts really. One, that you're controlling the movement of your knees to as little or as much as you want. But the other aspect is that the whole of your body is being held by the earth. So your body is not being asked to hold itself up or engage other muscles or make sudden movements like you might do when we're standing or running for a ball, or I don't know what we're doing. So this is a very safe movement. And then you might want to reverse the circle. So knees come into the chest, you open your knees with the knees into the chest, and then circle the knees so that they meet back at the top, at arm's length away from you. That sounds complicated, but hopefully it will be super easy. So you're giving total rotation to your leg, the femur in the hip socket. You're also beginning to connect into the groin area, and that's the lower lymphatic system. So you're boosting your your immune system here as well. And arms are stretched, as we did before, was the upper lymphatic system. Very helpful for the lower back. And then very gently hug the knees into the chest. And place the right foot down. You might like to hold the support your thigh. And we're going to focus on the knee now. Hold the left leg underneath the left thigh, knee bent in. And just half stretch the knee up and down. So you're just up, and the foot partially left foot goes partially goes up to the ceiling and partially comes down. You're just using the hinge joint movement of the knee just to sort of open and close. It's also effective if you're sitting and just swinging your knee, but we're upside down here. And then hugging the left knee into the chest, opening the left knee to the left ankle on the right thigh, and just hands, palms down on your abdomen, just sway your knees from side to side. Your hip will lift off the ground. And then hugging the left knee into the chest and place the left foot on the floor. And then bring your attention to your right side, your right knee, hands underneath your right thigh, and just half lift your foot up to the ceiling and back again. You're just lubricating the right knee joint. You don't need to move your knee very much. It's just a subtle movement. Again, depending on where your individual, everyone has their little weak point. Knees are tricky. And then just hugging the right knee into the chest and opening the right knee to the side, right ankle on the left thigh, palms down or on your abdomen, and just sway both knees from side to side. And then hugging the right knee into the chest and placing the right foot on the floor. Maybe bring your feet slightly wider than hip width apart. And your hands can go anywhere. They can rest on your abdomen. They can be palms down alongside you. Or you might like to raise your elbows bent above your head, or just one arm above your head, just to relax, almost like a baby pose, and just sway your knees from side to side. So your knees, the wider your feet are apart, the more your knees will drop into the centre. You lift your hips off the ground. Your head's heavy on the mat. This becomes a somatic movement because you're very much aware of the sensory aspect of the movement. And connecting to the sensory aspect, another part of us, takes away from the mind getting involved or thinking anything through. It becomes an automatic movement, and that again becomes a mindfulness aspect to this movement. You're just massaging along the top of your bottom, and that very satisfying point that you're massaging, the outer, almost top of the bottom, is that you'd have a tennis ball maybe underneath to massage, is connecting to something called the GB 30 point. Now, GB is gallbladder, and again, I'm not an expert, but in Chinese medicine, the gallbladder links to the liver, and at this time of year, with the wood element coming into being and the sap, if you like to think of the spring analogy of sap rising both in the spring in the trees but also in the body, the gallbladder becomes quite relevant, I suppose, to the detoxification process. And so you're getting rid of a lot of aspects of pent-up energy on this GB 30 point. So it might be more satisfying perhaps than it might be otherwise. And that depends on your makeup. We're all made up differently. But just enjoy this side-to-side movement. It's a rotation. So it's one of the movements that is also slightly, rotation is good for the digestive system, stimulating digestive juices, but you don't think of this as a rotation when you're lying on the ground like this. And then just very gently bring your knees to the centre. Bring your knees, feet slightly closer to your bottom. Lower your arms, lower your elbows back down alongside you. By this time, palms down alongside you. We'll come to a pelvic tilt, flattening the back as if you're lifting your bottom, and then just releasing. The tailbone goes towards the floor, and there's a little gap under your lower back. Flattening the back, almost lifting the bottom, and then lowering. And then again, flattening the back. And then just coming to roll to one side, so you would roll to the right away from your heart. We're going to come to kneeling, but if you need to rock up to come to kneeling, that's fine too. Depends on your space available to you. So coming very, very gently to all fours. If you've got your cat-cow limitations, then you can stay seated and just sitting up and coming forward, or just keep your back more neutral. So on all fours, just maybe bring your left knee slightly forwards towards your hands and stretch your right leg back, tucking the toes underneath, and we're coming into little toe joints. Your right heel's off the ground. You're putting slight weight on your wrist, so if that's not good for you, then just adjust, find what is good for you, and just come slightly forwards and backwards, so you're really stretching out the little toe, all the toe joints, but you're also opening your lung meridians. And then just bring your right knee to the ground, bring your left knee back, and we're going to reverse, so slide your right knee forward, stretch your left leg back, tuck your left toes under, and just slightly come backwards and forwards, stretching out all those little toe joints. And in particular, your big toe is coming into this. Your big toe connects to your head, and we've got a lot of mucus left over from the winter, so that needs to be got rid of. And then just very, very gently bringing your knees to the ground. And just some classic cat-cows. So again, if you're finding that you don't want to, just minimise your movement. Dipping your back, looking either up or along the mat. And breathing out, rounding, chin comes to the chest. Just carry on a couple of those, moving as little or as much as you would like in your own time, your own breath pattern. Here, it's very restful for the heart, and this particular movement is included in heart rehabilitation movement for people who've had heart issues, because the heart is parallel to the ground, so the body's not having to work very hard here to keep the heart, so everything's parallel, so the heart's not having to work hard to pump it up to the head. And then finally collecting, coming to a neutral position. Just turn your head to look over your right shoulder, a little or a lot. Come back to the centre and turn to look over your left shoulder. And just feel, notice any stiffness in your neck. And then go to the left shoulder. And then very gently come to slide your hands back towards your knees, kneel up. We're not going to be here very long. I know some of you need support. Just raising your hands up. Take hold of your left wrist with your right hand and just come over to the right. And then take hold of your right wrist with the other left hand. I've gone wrong, sorry. And coming over to that side. And then just lower the hands. Just touch your fingers to the ground. And then come very gently to a seated position. If cross-legged works for you, then that's great. If it doesn't, then come with your feet out in front of you. Just breathing in, sitting up. Breathing out, chin to chest. Breathing in, sitting up. And breathing out, chin to chest. Breathing in, sitting up. And breathing out, chin to chest. Come back to sitting upright. And just touch your fingers, your hands to your heart. And take a moment to have a thought for the day. And then breathing in, opening your fingers, outwards. Breathing out, fingers back to the heart, chin to chest. Breathing in, opening the hands out. Breathing out, chin to chest. Breathing in, opening out. And breathing out, chin to chest. Bring the head to upright. Take a bow for yourself for a very lovely day ahead.